Hey there, I hope you don't get motion sick easily, because the aviation moments we have for you today can only be stomached by professional pilots or true aircraft lovers. So, are you ready for takeoff? Let's go! Even the most grown-up commentators turn into awestruck kids whenever they see the incomparable B-2 stealth bomber. And this guy never eats before his flights. Do I really need to explain why? It turns out you don't need to go to space to experience weightlessness. Just a helicopter and a buddy pilot with a sense of humor. You'll never guess how French fighter pilots inspect military aircraft cargo. Literally with their eyes. Here's what happens when you decide to chill next to a military helicopter pilot's flight path and he hasn't had any vacation days. This is a good example of perfect timing for a cool video, but not for a safe vacation. No, you're not seeing things. This is indeed a giant Mi-26 carrying another one. And if you're still not impressed, then consider the fact that they weigh over 40 tons combined. Relax, this is not a folding airplane and your eyes aren't playing tricks on you. It's just the Thunderbirds, a stunt team that use their skills to create optical illusions. If the phrase "a whole hangar of expensive vehicles" makes you think of Ferraris and Lambos and not a fleet of B-2 bombers worth $2 billion each, then we have nothing to talk about. If you've never understood why engineers obsess over aerodynamics, just take a look at this. Don't blink or you'll miss the X-47B drone making its first ever catapult launch. Man, this guy is on cloud 9. These kids were lucky enough to witness a unique sight, a super scooper preparing to fight a massive wildfire. I think I know what they want to be when they grow up. If you've always wondered, can I outrun the world's largest airliner, the Airbus A380? Then this track near LAX is your chance to find out. I'm sorry, buddy. Your song is beautiful, but there's something more exciting than rock and roll tonight, and that's the sound of this F-39E Gripen's turbo engines. Landing at the windy St. Bart's Airport is a true test of skill and concentration for any pilot. Luckily, not even this wind could stop this pro from landing safely. Check out the level of control this helicopter pilot has. And yes, that was the most badass express delivery in YouTube history. I bet you've never seen a cargo plane landing like this. That's because this propeller-driven C-130 can turn into a jet thanks to a rocket-assisted takeoff system designed to evacuate soldiers from hard-to-reach places. You might have been expecting Batman, but this is someone way cooler. A helicopter pilot who can land on a ship in the middle of the ocean on the darkest night. If you thought the B-2 was the peak of engineering genius, check out the presentation of the long-range, highly survivable B-21 Raider stealth bomber, destined to become the backbone of the U.S. Air Force's bomber fleet. These guys forgot to include their pilot in the group photo, but he found himself a spot, right in the front row. Everyone thinks that gravity is aviation's biggest enemy, but pilots know that the true foe is a sudden crosswind while landing. This driver pulled up right next to a landing U-2 high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft to give you a first-person view of the incredible skill of a pilot perfectly landing the 50-foot plane while balancing on bicycle-style landing gear. Meet the ROC, a double fuselage plane with 6 engines and the largest wingspan in the world. And it's about to land, despite my brain refusing to understand how it even stays in the air. If your air show doesn't look like this, then don't even bother inviting me. You've already seen the X-47B drone get launched from a catapult, but then these guys were like, wait a minute, what if we put the catapult on an aircraft carrier? When the MD-87 appears on the horizon, you can bet this flying monster filled with tons of water is the last thing any wildfire will see. No, this isn't a scene from some sci-fi movie. It's an actual commercial Airfish 8 screenplane that can both float on water and fly. Nothing special, just a reminder that even pro pilots make mistakes sometimes. But the important thing is that no one got hurt. The only thing you expect to see in the sky over Miami Beach is a flock of seagulls. Certainly not a U.S. Air Force stealth bomber. Next time, these spectators should pick a less dusty spot for plane spotting. Or they could just do what these mega minds did. I don't know how many years of experience these guys have, but they don't even need tools to start the plane. Just a boot. It's hard to imagine a more impressive place to watch an air show than this mountain range. Except maybe our channel. Whoa. I'm not entirely sure how a rocket sled works, but I am sure that you have to see how they launch the XQ-58 Valkyrie drone with one. Now watch this once-in-a-lifetime experience, a race between 2 F-35s, or subscribe to our channel to see this kind of thing much more often. Show me a more exciting moment in aviation than a triple F-14 Tomcat launch from an aircraft carrier. I'll wait. Meet the Blue Angels, the U.S. Navy's elite flight demonstration squadron. These pilots can fly so close to each other that you'll think you're watching one plane. When there's a raging wildfire, aviation isn't just about dropping water from planes. Sometimes it's the only safe way for rescuers and firefighters to get around. Airplanes are so majestic, and this video of a Boeing 777 going through early morning moisture proves it once again. Imagine driving on the highway and seeing this. What do? Probably sign up for a seat cleaning service. I'm sure you think that professional level skill means landing a plane on the roof of a moving pickup truck, but true professionalism means being able to handle a situation when things don't go as planned. People say beer and flying don't go together, but this talented guy is about to prove them wrong. This is why air traffic controllers can't afford to make mistakes. Luckily, this time, thanks to the skills of the pilots, the passengers got nothing more than a scare. Now, it's time to remember a true legend of civil aviation, the supersonic Concorde jet and some impressive landing footage from the 90s. Did you know that the airplane world has convertibles too? For example, the X-47B can fold its wings to take up as little space as possible on an aircraft carrier. Did you know the SR-71 Blackbird's design is so futuristic that it was used as the prototype for the X-Men's aircraft? Every time the B-52 Intercontinental Strategic Bomber comes in for a landing, air show spectators' hearts start beating faster. Don't believe me? Then just listen to the sound it makes. These Indian students are about to realize that the line between seeing a helicopter up close and running away from a helicopter being too close is way too thin. When you're an F-35 pilot with vertical engine thrust capability, you get to pick the best seat in the ballgame, or rather, above it. This cameraman is one lucky guy. It's not every day that a few $1 billion fly over your head. It's time to admit that pilots react to bridges the same way bulls react to the color red. They just have to go for it and fly under them. But don't worry, this guy's a pro. You shouldn't even try this in a video game. Now, check out the work of an elite flight demonstration squadron right from the cockpit of one of its members. Yep, it's Miami Beach again, and once more, our favorite B-2 is surprising the beachgoers. It's starting to feel like there's a nest of stealth bombers somewhere nearby. Delete the calm under pressure section of your resume, because the pilot of this plane is about to show you what that word really means. Yep, that's a tornado on the runway. And yes, everyone's fine. But sometimes, pilots come within millimeters of disaster due to their own mistakes, which aren't always fixable. Fortunately, this time was an exception. The F-117 Nighthawk might be invisible to enemy radar, but it couldn't hide from these plane spotters. At least it gave them some unforgettable memories. I know you've seen the US Air Force F-35A fighter jet plenty of times, but trust me, this plane still has some surprises up its sleeve. No, that helicopter isn't carrying a mini excavator. It's just that next to the 28-ton Mi-26, any equipment looks like a toy. This is the Manta Ray, proof of what happens when you invite a US Air Force plane designer to work on submarines. Looks like we've got ourselves a new B-2 stealth diver. Imagine the kind of talent it takes to crash a plane without even leaving the ground. In any case, it's a miracle no one was hurt. Admittedly, this is a strange place to park, but a bridge in New Jersey was the only option for this pilot to make a safe emergency landing. This looks like it could be footage from a video game, but trust me, most gamers can't even pull off what this pro does in real life. If you've ever wanted to touch the clouds, then you should definitely become a pilot, because here's what they can do. Now, of course, you've heard about how powerful jet fighters can be, but I suggest you listen and see what it's truly capable of. This pilot had to rely on skill and sheer luck a mere second before disaster struck. Fortunately, both delivered. Few people think about how military aircraft fuselages get cleaned, but I'm sure we can all agree that watching this is just as satisfying as seeing them fly. Here's a riddle for you. What kind of low pass will the spectators remember forever? The one that makes them duck their heads, of course. Enjoy watching the Italian Air Force remind Formula One fans that the Grand Prix at Monza is an unforgettable spectacle, and not just on the racetrack. After all, they know how to make an already impressive air show even more memorable. You just have to add some color. This incredible landing doesn't need any commentary. Just sit back and enjoy. Check it out, this is not CGI. That's real swirls of air spinning on the tips of this fighter's wings, created by the powerful lift force. I bet no one in the neighborhood will ever argue with that neighbor again. Here's a close look at an F-35 demonstrating its ability to hover to airshow goers. Take a guess at who's seeing an F-35 for the first time. I know it looks unbelievable, but you have to see the largest passenger plane crossing the runway at Sydney Airport as it passes directly over a highway tunnel. I don't know what these divers are going to do underwater, but it seems like the most thrilling part of their expedition has just happened. Can you believe there are people on this planet who don't like the Golden Gate Bridge? I bet they just haven't seen it from a bird's eye view. Imagine how confident in your homemade aircraft you'd have to be to pull off something like this. Don't even think about trying this yourself. Guys, I think we're witnessing the filming of the latest Fast and Furious movie, but this time, Dominic has found himself a new muscle car. While other people pay for airshow tickets, this guy gets to see one on his way to work. This is literally the fastest vehicle that has ever driven on this highway. Seems like this place couldn't be any more like paradise, but then this beauty shows up on the horizon. Believe me, the pilot of this cargo helicopter laughs when he hears that aerial refueling is a complicated maneuver. The B-2 Spirit has been around for decades, but it still looks like something out of the future. Imagine how many years of training it takes to achieve the level of piloting skill that the Blue Angels have. This is the World War II Spitfire, and you're about to find out why it's called that. Because it's literally spitting fire. This Aerospace Line Super Guppy was designed to transport oversized cargo for NASA, but judging by its appearance, the engineer who designed it urgently needed to move his house. It's thrilling to watch this trio of giants at the Super Bowl 2024 opener, but imagine what it must be like to see them on the battlefield. Every time somebody asks me, dude, why are you so obsessed with aviation? I'm gonna show them this video. Well, now you know that a sandstorm can be kicked up by 4 powerful turbofan engines of a C-17. Still dreaming of becoming an F-35 pilot? You may be a decade too late. Someone, take only the essentials. Meanwhile, me packing an F-18 Super Hornet. What do you do after an emergency landing in the middle of a highway? That's right, you make an incredible emergency takeoff from the same spot. The US Air Force makes the best planes, but it seems like their navigation systems could use a little work. For this pilot, gravity stops existing the moment he takes the controls of his F-18. This could have been the best photo this guy ever took, but ultimately, he was just lucky it wasn't his last. This is Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Arizona, but if you're a true aviation fan, you already know that it's the largest aircraft graveyard in the world. A wildfire of this scale can't be extinguished without the help of planes, and luckily, this McDonnell Douglas DC-10 is always ready for battle. To pull off a loop-the-loop at that altitude, you've either got to be crazy or one of the most experienced pilots in the world. Luckily, this guy's the latter. Who says you can't be an F-16 fighter pilot and a real gangsta at the same time? Look at this truck, and now compare it to the size of a Boeing 747 engine, and it has 4 of them. This guy is so good at piloting that regular flights have become boring for him, so now he does them upside down. An F-35 can make turns so fast that you can literally see it slicing through the air. This helicopter expedition looks like it's about to beat Indiana Jones in finding the Temple of Doom. These lucky folks got to witness an F-35 Lightning II breaking the sound barrier and transitioning to supersonic speed. While Lockheed Martin and Boeing are perfecting their aircraft, this guy decided to invent a plane from scratch. This guy is still too young to pilot a real fighter jet, so he became a pro at flying remote-controlled ones. When all the fish have already been scared away during your fishing trip, the only thing left to do is watch the incredible work of a firefighter pilot. Pilots at air shows like these have no room for error because literally every millimeter counts. This is what happens when pilots miscalculate the speed of their aircraft during landing. Don't worry, he still has 2 wheels left to try again. Don't even think about showing this video to your friend who's afraid of flying. And yes, the plane landed safely. Now is your chance to basically get a POV view of a wildfire's final seconds before being extinguished by this DC-10. This is what an F-35 takeoff looks like when the controller gives the pilot permission for a zoom climb. Now enjoy this low pass by 4 C-130 Hercules aircraft. The organizers of this air show made sure the planes would be visible in the night sky. This paint job lets you know that you're looking at the A330-900neo Condor, Airbus's flagship aircraft used for long-haul flights. You're not seeing things. These workers decided to help erect a wind turbine support with a helicopter. Don't even think about trying something like this if you happen to have one. Now, you know what happens to a helicopter if it loses its tail rotor in mid-flight. It's safe to say that the pilot of this experimental aircraft must have been born under a lucky star after managing to make a safe emergency landing on an empty highway when his engine failed. Besides the pilot and the flight attendant, there's one more thing that can open the cockpit door: old hinges. Believe me, you haven't had a truly bad day until your mistake causes $40 million to crash into the ground. Anyway, the important thing is that the pilot ejected safely and is unharmed. This is what happens when your co-workers fly back to base after fighting a fire near your wedding. They drop by to say hi in their own special way. A pilot's worst nightmare is engine failure, and that's exactly what happened to these guys' plane, making the next 30 seconds the most important of their lives. Need to take off from an aircraft carrier with a cargo plane? No problem. Just make the ramp a little higher. Even in the 80s, very few people got to see the first and last supersonic passenger plane, the Concorde, in action. Luckily, we're not in the 80s and you're a subscriber to our channel, so enjoy. You've seen plenty of low passes today, but let's be honest, none of them compare to this one. Speaking of mistakes, you might mistake this for a UFO, but that's just because not many people have seen a B-2 stealth bomber in flight from this angle. No, highways don't have magnets that pull planes down. It's just that when you're out of options in an emergency, you don't have time to make it pretty. But don't worry, the pilot's fine. Well, there are no more flights scheduled for today, so write in the comments and tell us which aviation moment you found most memorable. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one.